Welcome to today's class. Today we're going to have some fun. We're going to touch a subject that many people that we still haven't. This is one of my missions, one of my purposes here with philosophy, with everything in my life, is to give people a deeper experience in life, show a way to a better life, like the title of the whole guide is, or the whole purpose of my philosophy. But also, we want deep experience, not just everyday, regular experience. I will get to this. I will remove a lot of stuff here. We'll first start with this, and then we will talk more about my stuff. We'll talk a little bit about other philosophers, thinkers in history a little bit, and some definitions of what I think spirituality is. So today we're going to speak about spirituality. What is spirituality? All right. I was so excited to make this. I could barely sleep. All right. So let's just begin with how I came to my terminology. And all right. So I think I subconsciously started to call it this experience I had when when I'm training, when I do other stuff as well, not just when I meditate and so forth. We'll get to that more later. But I started to, I always had visualizations ever since I was a kid. I always pictured, some form of nirvana, pure energy, like the beginning of the universe, basically, when it was plasma, this soup of everything. And as the physicists call it. And I separated that from, nature. Well, now I understand that, but I still saw it, like pure energy, yellow, like the sun. And then I separated the nature because I loved science and I couldn't, put them together. So in a sense, I just want to mention this. So in a sense, philosophy becomes the tension, at least in my life. Philosophy came to me between the tension of, nature and how I was raised with Orthodox Christianity. But I couldn't, they spoke of God, but I visualized it as pure energy ever since I was like 10. So I couldn't, there was a tension between these. So between nirvana, basically, God, or whatever you want to call it, and the nature science, as I saw it, even then, because I understood that biologists, astronomers, and so forth, they studied nature. And I read, about animals and mountains and, rivers and all of that stuff. I still love that, and experiencing mountains. I love mountains and I love nature. So I will always love nature. And it is also spiritual. We will get to that later. So for me, philosophy became the tension. It was born out of the tension between spirituality and science. So this has always been with me. That's why I went through. I've gone through a lot of perspectives. I've gone through the paradigm of a lot of paradigms or perspectives or worldviews. I've broken my worldviews. I've shattered them, and then I've reassembled them, and then I've shattered them again, and I've done that recently again, and all the time. So my philosophy is going to be, it's an evolution. I want it to be an evolution. A year from now, it should have, evolved. Now, obviously, I'm trying to find universal patterns and principles. So everything I speak of when it comes to my philosophy, when it comes to everything later that you will see that the philosophy is the universal, but the individual comes in, in the details, your diet, your sleep, your exercise. That's why I'm speaking of finding your diet and sleep and exercise and so forth, which are, your instincts. And all right, so that's a small introduction to where I come from and where my thoughts come from. And then later, of course, when I was 15, I went deeper and, I doubted everything and, all of this stuff. So I will make a separate video about that stuff, about my story. But for now, so recently, like the recent 2 or 3 years or something, I started calling spirituality Newman. This is my Mitkovski-ism here. This is Newman, this is my word. I think I subconsciously took it from Kant. He spoke of Newman, all right? I also tried the word nous from the Greek word, nous, like psyche. It's similar to logos. It's not quite the same, but still, you know, consciousness. I don't, you know, we can call it consciousness, but consciousness doesn't capture. That's why I still keep the word spirit and soul, because soul is just the echoes of the inner life, all right? Souls are just, that's why, you know, art can explain a lot of this much better than philosophy. That's why I have poems and so forth. I might cut in my poem at the end of the video or somewhere here. I will read the poem now, and then I will explain what it means and who it is and stuff like that. 2017, January the 2nd, 2 in the morning actually. Like an angel, he came to me. I found the start to be absurd. He showed me how to be free. Now I have learned. Simple life. Go after your instinct. Be astute. Avoid strife. Seek inner truth. Now, I don't agree with everything I said here, and you see it's only like 2 years, but I changed a lot in 1 year. I changed a lot. So avoid strife. No, we don't avoid strife. We actually love our strife because we have joy in the process, and the strife is just, we keep on, that is how we work in the long run, you know. That is how it will work in the long run. You can't avoid strife. You can't avoid anything that is human. And now seek inner truth, that is spirituality. And so you have these experiences within everyday experience, of course, but you know, you have these spikes of spiritual experiences. So you see, I had a conversation, I call them my angels, some, you know, mentors, or, you know, some people, unexpected guiders in life. I call them my angels, not literally angels, but, you know, they come out of nowhere because, and I didn't expect him to come from, you know, from IRC, you know, internet relay chat, you know, people who are IT people will know about this stuff. But so I didn't expect it to come from there, and we discuss movies usually there. And so we went into philosophy, and he talked about his obsessions with diet and nutrition and stuff like that as well. So that subconsciously or somehow, you know, rubbed off on me, and that is what I'm doing, or I'm going beyond, well beyond what he's doing. So not only have I been, you know, obsessed with nutrition, but that is over now. You know, I'm going beyond here. I'm going, you know, I'm finding each and every area of life and putting together, you know, a new philosophy, or trying to, and making people aware of all of this and igniting that inner fire in you. I just want to explain that, you know, we can call it exaltation, we can call it elevation. So I elevated myself, I fixed myself, and then I try to elevate others, you know, in turn. So when I help others in turn, they will elevate me, because it will elevate my, you know, I will understand my philosophy much better, and I will understand myself better, and so forth. Everything is connected. So it is a dynamical relationship. So I have a relationship with you people as well. So, and I have a relationship with him as well. I want to keep it, you know, special. I haven't talked to him in a long time, you know, and we haven't gone, you know, deeply spiritual in a very long time. So, I mean, me and him. So, that conversation, a conversation can also be deeply spiritual. It was something special. I already felt it back then, but now I understand that it was very special to me. So it ignited something in me, you know, it put me towards another path, you know, different goal, my purpose, you know, even, you know, defined it even better, you know. Now my purpose is crystal clear to me, you know. And I had other mentors on the way, along, you know, my path, my journey. So you have all these mentors along your journey, and you find all these people that work for you, and, you know, and then you separate, and recreate and you reassemble all the time. Every day you change, you better yourself, and so forth. So, and you can see here instinct. I'm getting closer to my philosophy here, and seek inner truth, of course, spirituality. So, and also, you know, I found the start to be absurd, like the way we spoke there, I believe. So I will explain a little bit of the poem. Usually I don't want to explain my poems because I want them to have, you know, multiple layers, the same way, you know, Hermann Hesse has multiple layers, and other, you know, writers, Dostoevsky and so forth. So our start was absurd, you know, it came out of nowhere, the conversation. I've had similar, you know, not similar, but in a different way, but also, you know, unexpected places, from unexpected places. So conversations, it is a relation, so relationships can be very deeply spiritual. So don't discard that, and I just wanted to add that, you know. And elevation, we can call it exaltation, exalted state, or elevated elevation, you know. We can call it spirituality that as well, if you want to. I elevated you, you elevated me, and so forth. So it's a relationship. All right, so let's go back to spirituality. Just to show that poetry is in a lot of ways, you know, more powerful in expressing what we mean. Without, you know, language can express stuff without, I will give you an example. My aunt yesterday or some day ago, she told me, yeah, so, you know, New Zealanders, they have, you know, accent, and Australians have an accent as well. And so she said, but, you know, New Zealand, well, Australians, they have a broader accent. And I understand exactly what she means without, but when you look at the words, you know, broader accent, what does that really truly mean? And then you might, you know, go delve into that, but you don't have to. You can just realize this instead. Realize that language there, you know, you see there is a limitation, but still there is some, it's not magical obviously, but there is some, you know, deep neurological thing within us, network, that still understands that broad means, you know, they broaden the words, or, you know, something like that, you know, all right? So it is approximate. So it's not quite, you know, but that's why art as well, you know, it's approximate. It gets to the truth in some sense without, it touches it, you know, because truth is subtle. It is very hard to capture, but my philosophy captures the practical stuff. First, we will get to some theoretical, well, historical theoretical stuff. So yeah, I got from Kant, Immanuel Kant, Newman. I think I got it subconsciously. I realized that later, but I changed it to Newman with a U only. I dropped the O there. But Kant actually doesn't mean, you know, spirituality really. He talks about the thing in itself, Ding an sich, and it is beyond experience. It is from the Greek word noumenon, which means objects existing outside human experience. Now, when we talk about noumen in spirituality, now obviously it's not fair to take this and take it here, perhaps, but it is metaphysics. But according to my philosophy, everything is practical and theoretical. The theoretical is behind the practical. It is beneath, you know, it works behind the scenes. But the thing is, you know, Newman, spirituality is a real thing, all right? It is literally a biochemical stuff in the brain, but from the subjective, we experience stuff from the subjective, and in my opinion, we can't deny this, so we have to deal with this, unlike a lot of the rationalists and people who, you know, always talk about, you know, reason and reason and reason and reason. Well, humans are more than reason, all right? Even those who just speak of reason and, you know, are in love with reason. Now, I was one of those people once, but I always understood, you know, within myself that there is more to life, and I always had my visualizations and my art and expressions, and so I've always been raised. I've always had spirituality around me. So my mother and my aunt and my grandmother, my grandfather is also he's deeply spiritual, and well, in their own way they believe in stuff I don't believe in, but I'm trying to boil it down to one sort of experience, universal principle that we all have. We all have this. I don't care how much of an atheist you are, it doesn't matter. Agnostic, whatever you want to call yourself, it doesn't matter. Perhaps I will even say that the most nihilistic, they can be the most spiritual, actually. It sounds very paradoxical, but they go within themselves a bit too much. So that is the despaired state, as I call it, when you go, existentialism, but, super deep within yourself, when you almost, end yourself. That is where I discovered the core, and then, I just changed my philosophy to outwards instead, which is, so I still have to accept that, the despaired state was necessary for me to get to this practical philosophy, to get to the better way. I'm showing you the better way. Instead of going and torturing yourself, you're not supposed to torture yourself. It is not good for your health. So it all became about health, and the core is health, It makes perfect sense. Especially if you watch all my lectures, you will understand what I'm speaking of. All right, so today's video is perhaps going to be very long, but so in my opinion, Kant, you could only get to Newman through reason, and in my opinion, of course, that is nonsense. All right, it is a sense. It is a deep human experience, intense experience. I have my definition here. I just wanted to talk a little bit about Immanuel Kant and where I think I subconsciously or unconsciously, whatever you want to call it, got the terminology from. And I also call it sometimes numinous experience. We could also call it inner wisdom. I've lately called it inner wisdom. Let's remove Kant. I will remove all of this stuff because that is just nonsense, because it's not about this stuff. It's not even relevant, really. So inner, but I just wanted to give you the background so you understand where I come from. Inner wisdom, or I always used to call it inner, the inner and the outer. The inner. Well, inner, the outer. You can call it internal. You can call it external. Internal, external. You can also call it, objectivity or the objective world, and subjectivity, or sub world, or your inner landscape, your inner world, your inner whatever you want to call it. You can call it a lot of words. That's why I stick with Newman. It's easier, it's simple, and spiritual. It doesn't have the baggage from religion. All right, that's why I want to restart everything. I want to restart everything with Newman. All right, I call it Newman. All right, so it's not about existing objects and stuff like that. So all right, so I will explain a little bit my definitions here and other words I've come up with as well. All right, well, we should get to this as well. actually perhaps before I get into my definition, because when we get into my definition, we get into my philosophy. So this is just some background for the word noumen. You know, you can call it the outer, the objective world, but I've actually, you know, I've gone beyond this now. This is basically, you know, my old philosophy a little bit, you know, it is the precursor to my current philosophy. My current philosophy is much more practical. Well, there is a lot of background theory. I will put that in a book someday, because, you know, theory just works better in a book form, and in my course as well, perhaps, and stuff like that. But I will go through some of this stuff, because I think a lot of people love, you know, theory and stuff like this. All right. So yeah, it's pretty interesting that someone like Christopher Hitchens, one of my heroes, used to be well, I still love him, but I've gone beyond all that stuff. I've shattered the tortured artist. I've shattered the doubt everything. You know, I've shattered only reason. I've shattered only science, only philosophy, only art. You know, all of that stuff. It is not only one thing. Life is about many things, and life is to be lived. That is more important, and improving your health. Not just, you know, reading stuff you love, which is of course important. You love philosophy and so forth. Well, if you're that kind of, you know, person, but there is more to life. It is more important to love your life than, you know, ruminate about your life. Ruminating about your life, you don't get anywhere. So that is just for philosophy or for philosophers. Unless you're going to be a philosopher, stop ruminating and just follow, you know, simple steps to get better health, so you can, you know, accelerate and create your purpose and be a creator instead. You have to become a creator. All right. But all right, so let's head back here. So yeah, Hitchens, he spoke about numinous experience. So even, I mean, he didn't deny, you know, that people had this experience. He criticized dogmatism, which I'm also criticizing. I hate dogmatism. My philosophy is the very opposite of dogmatism. I have the principle of change behind everything, which is the very opposite of dogmatism. There is no way dogmatism can happen in my philosophy. All right, there is no rigid system. There is no rigid, you know, thing. You have your life, and then you follow my principles, you apply them, and then you change your life. That is it. That is it. That is it. It's simple. It's simple. It's not easy, because there is a lot of struggle and hardship, but once you love it, like I spoke of yesterday, you continue, you're a force. You just move forward. All right, so yeah, Hitchens, love Hitchens. He spoke of numinous experience as well. I discovered that the thinker Rudolf Otto, German, he talked about numinous experience and the numinous as well. But I believe he was Christian. He has, you know, all that stuff there. So that's why I want to separate myself and call it numen instead, or numenus. Numinous. Or we will invent some new word in the future, or during the lecture, you never know. All right. So yeah, we can call it my definition here as well. I'll just quickly mention that, you know, all these mystics, you know, Sufism, in a lot of ways, I've started to like Sufism. It's the mystical sect, or, you know, part of the Islamic religion. But it's, you know, it's very different, and they always talk about the heart, which is very similar to Jesus when he talks about, or, you know, the people who wrote the Gospels, when they talked about the heart and your inner temple. I've actually adopted that a little bit. You know, you have your inner temple. I call it the core, but well, it's all the same thing. All right. So I'm just capturing whatever, you know, whatever is true in the experience, in the inner life, inner experience, we all have that inner life and experience, because experience, that's where life happens, or experience happens where life is. That's why nihilists are wrong, because there is a purpose. Otherwise, purpose and meaning cannot exist outside experience. So you will hit a wall and you will understand that there is experience, there is non-experience. This is the very behind everything, behind even the principle of change, I believe. So that's why my philosophy is about humanism and humans and human life and thriving. It's all about that. It is not neutral. It is not a neutral philosophy. It is not like Stoicism, where stuff is, you got to be indifferent, suppress your anger, suppress some emotions. They're not good, Basically, that's what's happening there. And I think that is terrible. We shouldn't, and psychologists would certainly not agree with that. There is no way a psychologist today, modern day, would agree with that. And usually Stoicists talk about like, oh yeah, modern psychology, it is very close to and inspired by Stoicism. Yeah, right. No, that is so wrong. That is so deeply wrong. We're yesayers of life. We love life. We should love our life and love improving our life. In my philosophy, we focus on improving. The improvement, perfecting the human condition, not searching for all your life for the perfect human condition. No, perfecting the human condition, improving. Technically, it's not about improving, and technically, it's not better. It is different steps technically, but that's my theory. That's more theoretical stuff. But technically, you take a different step. You are in a state A, and you go to state B, and you get closer to B, you get closer to B here, like you're A, but you're dropping, your stuff, like you're dropping your stuff and you're moving like this, it's an evolution. And also it's an evolution of yourself, a spectrum. You become a spectrum. And in all areas of life. And when we speak of all areas of life, that is exactly Sufism, because it is about all areas of life. Sufism doesn't. It's about the evolution of man. It doesn't, and especially the inner life and outer life, both. It doesn't deny anything. That's why I really like Sufism. I believe Sufism existed before Islam, actually. So those mystics existed before it. So it is older, and it should be something else. Perhaps I'm more of a Sufist than Sufists. Perhaps I'm more of a Christian than Christians, and more of a Buddhist than Buddhists. Well, now I'm becoming a Gandhi, it seems. But it's about all this inner life. We don't deny this stuff, all right? We can't be like the rationalist, just denying all this stuff. This is important to people. It is important to me. We all have this experience. When you have awe, when you're awe-inspired, when you listen to music, it's all part of this. It's just that these people just focus on, the meditative, the inner life, the experience, and the visual, they all focus on that, and they became obsessed with, the philosophical, or the philosophical in another different sense than I speak of philosophy, because philosophy should aid life. And they didn't think like that. They just, focused on the experience itself, just that, and trying to, almost like an artist express it. That's why a lot of them are, like Rumi. Rumi is, he's a artist as well, and so forth, using, metaphors. And, Christianity also uses metaphors. It is very, spiritual in a lot of ways, but Christians made it dogmatic. Christians afterwards made his religion dogmatic, and that's why it became something else completely. And that's why there is a lot of baggage there. That's why we got to separate ourselves from all of it. Got the Neoplatonists as well, like Plotinus. He has some interesting stuff, but it's all too. He had obviously experience. He said he had 4 deep experiences in his life. That is not a lot. We should have more. I've had more than 4. You should have, and in a different ways. And I'm going to explain all of this in different ways, and I will explain why reality is very deep and layered. There is a lot of layers. There's a lot of stuff to be aware of. So I'm going to make you aware of everything, because that's my wish. That's my innermost desire. So in a sense, I am doing spirituality right now, in some sense. But let's not, there are different kinds of spirituality. The active we can call it active spirituality, and more like a passive spirituality. We'll get there. But Pico della Mirandola also, expressed stuff like this. Mystics of all mass religions, or Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, and then Jainism. They also fast, by the way. They fast. Well, Christian monks and nuns, they also fast, and some Christians as well. At least during what's it called? Holidays. So it is a part of within all religions, but you don't have to be dogmatic about this. Everyone can do this. That is my goal here, to extract what is the core, the importance of this experience. Forget about all their, all this stuff, and just listen to what I'm saying, because all these philosophies will just confuse you, will make everything clear. If it's not clear, comment down below and I will make it clear there, or I will make another video clearing things up, because I want to be clear about this stuff. I don't like obscurantism, I want it to be clear for myself as well. We're talking about real stuff here. We're not talking about beyond life. This is within life. This is within life. All right? We can call it inner wisdom. We can call it whatever we want to. I call it Newman. It's easier. It doesn't have baggage. Or spirit. Well, spirit. It has some baggage. So there is a problem there. So my definition. Deep, just my definition in a, just a quick, short way is, deep human experience or profound human experience. Deep, intense human experience, or like this, deep, intense, sentient, visual, emotional thought experience. Yes, I know that is very long, but you gotta include this stuff. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. It is deep, it is intense, often intense. It is not a regular experience, it is intense and deep, not a regular experience. It comes from sentient beings, you gotta be sentient. And then it's often visual, not always. Sometimes it might even be audiovisual. It is you also feel emotional thought. I invented a word called enud. 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 That's emotion, thought. It's like in and out, or thought is out, emotion is in. But it's together. It is coupled. It is coupled like quantum particles, and you can't quite separate it. In reality, you can't separate it. Actually, in reality, when you have spiritual experience, you can't separate any of this. and obviously experience. So deep, intense experience. We can also call it deep, intense experience. That is spirituality in a short, definition. But we can look at life through spirit. So if you follow my stuff, if you follow my philosophy, you will understand that I see life from I see it from health, and then from health you get, you have the 4 essential areas of life: health, wealth, but this is mainly your foundation, especially first foundation, your health. And then you got, relations, and then you got spirituality, which we're talking about today. But the thing is, you can also, zoom in on this. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to zoom in on spirituality, but it is coupled with health, of course, because having, satisfying life, spirituality is necessary. So if you want to have deeper, satisfying life, a lot of people have success, wealth, a lot of people have wealth, great relations, and yet they're unsatisfied. That's because you lack this, because this makes life experience much deeper and layered. Today we'll go through all this right now, actually. So no more nonsense. This is the new philosophy. This is what you should listen to. Forget about everything else you've read. Now, obviously, it's good if you read, but read it, digest it, then move on. Read it, digest it, move on. Read it, digest it, then move on. You gotta separate yourself from your heroes, all of them, including me. If you're starting to see me as a hero, then including me, all right? Because we gotta keep on changing and improving all the time. That's what I'm doing here. It is anti-dogma, all right? So you gotta remember that. It is anti-dogma. We're not going to the past. We love the future, all right? I usually say, the past is dead, long live the future. The past is dead. Nietzsche said, God is dead, but the past is dead. All of history is dead. Long live the future, all right? And the current, current moment. Current moment as well, all right? Long live the current moment, long live now. Long live now. This is the new philosophy. Now let's start the new philosophy. And so you can look at life through, basically, if you want to, you can zoom in on spirituality. So we can look at life like this as well. Everyday experience or actually everyday experience. And then spiritual. We'll call it spiritual. Spiritual experience. I know that spirit means breath, but still it has baggage. So it doesn't matter when people, say that. It still has baggage. All right? So you have everyday experience. We're not satisfied because we don't have this. We don't include this in our everyday experience. The same way I spoke of there, basically health here, when I wrote that here and spirituality here, basically this is everyday experience and spirit, but technically this is within every, as I wrote here, it should be. If you're not satisfied in life, it's because you don't include that in your life. You just move on with your life, with your job. Now, obviously, you can be spiritual in your work as well. I will get to that, but you can get spiritual in many, many ways. And I'm not going to, we're not going to be afraid that the word loses its meaning. It doesn't. Because it is experience here, all right? It's just deeper, layered, perhaps. It's layered, while this is more, direct. Everyday experience is more direct, It's not as layered. Except when, I start philosophizing and it becomes layered. All right, so my philosophy, I get, spiritual. That's why I said I'm spiritual. I'm doing spirituality now. That's why I said that. So, all right. So I gotta, just keep on expressing everything, all of that stuff. I was so excited to do this. This is could barely sleep. This is so much fun. All right, so you got everyday experience and you got spiritual experience. You lack, you only focus on, everyday experience. And we can see life like these two. And from, health is from everyday experience. Because, 80% of life, everyday, okay, you can't read it now. All right. Every day experience. Whoops. All right. So 80% of life. Well, perhaps it's not even like this. Most people, it's like perhaps 99% and 90 or 90. Well, that's impossible. 1% spiritual life, and they have, so they, they listen to some music and they get, a bit spiritual, or, do some meditation, but it's not enough, that's not everything. There is more, and everything is connected. You just look at my philosophy from different angles. Basically, you have the core, your heart, your temple, whatever you want to call it. You have the core, as I call it. You have the core, and we look at the core. We use philosophy to look at the core in different ways. We don't ruminate, we don't question the core, we don't question health, because health is everything in life. We need our health, otherwise we can't do anything. We can't do philosophy if we don't have health. That's more important than what I'm doing here. That's why I never sacrifice your first foundation. Never sacrifice your first foundation. Diet, sleep, exercise, meditation. Never sacrifice that. I don't care how much money you want to have or how much money you need. I don't care. Become a hobo. I don't care. You don't sacrifice your health. You don't sacrifice your health. You don't. Especially if you're in the West, there are no excuses for you to sacrifice your health. So I woke up, even if I only slept like 4 hours, I woke up, usually I don't sleep that bad, but that's because I was so excited to make this. I went out and did all my pull-ups, even pull-ups. So I went outside, I became energized through training. So it's super important, and that is my foundation. Without my training and my diet later in the evening, because I only eat in the evening. And so, except when I experiment and stuff. So you gotta self-experiment, but all right, so that's another part, of the philosophy. So I went outside and trained, and I didn't sacrifice my health. You don't sacrifice your health, your first foundation, no matter what. I don't care how stressed out you are. Actually, if you are stressed out, something is wrong. You gotta change it. There's something about your work that is not correct if you're stressed out. You gotta change so that your habits, your daily habits become changed so that you're not stressed out, so that you can do your work. Otherwise, you can't be 100%. All right? We want to be 100%. We want to be strong, resilient, like Spartans, whatever we want to look at, think of, medieval warrior or something, as I sometimes imagine myself being, which is, it's also part of spirituality. That is also part of spirituality. Training outside was part of spirituality. When I felt the cold, I've been thinking a lot about, cold. I just imagine myself walking. I imagine the cold being a wall, but I just walk through it because I'm that resilient. All right. And so I felt, a bit spiritual there. I started to spiritualize myself, basically. I activated myself and became a little bit spiritual. So there is, minor spirituality, and there is major spirituality, basically. There are some, there are layers to spirituality. There is more and more intense, and sometimes, higher, but sometimes, deep. That's when you are despaired and go inner wisdom. When you go within yourself. When you go within yourself, there is a lot of layers that way as well. And I felt all of those. So if you want to have a full human, technically, there are very, very few people that will go through this. Because in some sense, to be the deepest spiritual and the deepest, human being, you got to go deeply within yourself at some point in your life. I don't care when it is. It doesn't matter when it is. As long as it happens, as long as that experience happens, you go deep within yourself. So you experience the deepness, the abyss, as Nietzsche calls it. I call it the depths. But then there is also the heights. So we're working towards heights here, all right? Because heights are much more healthy. When we're in heights, we spiritualize ourselves. We're in the mountains, we walk there, we feel the cold, but we still, go through. We're an animal, but we get to our instincts, to our core, but we still continue. We're a warrior, all of that is part of it, and that is spirituality as well. That is deeply spiritual. And so you see, there is some struggle, but we love the struggle, and it is part of our spiritual life experience, which will make us more satisfied in life, because that makes life having layers and being deep and deep upper, in the upper sphere instead of the lower sphere. Now, I've experienced the lower already, so I'm just moving upwards now. I can only move upwards. And most of the days, of course, it is everyday experience. Of course, it will be like, 80%. And by the way, if it's like 80% here, well, then you're a monk. You're no longer, you're a monk here. You're a monk, and it's like 20% here. You've abandoned humanity, your humanism. You've abandoned your humanism, and you become more of a monk, and so that goes against Sufism in some sense. Well, it goes against my philosophy, because we want the whole human evolution. We want the whole human experience, the whole human condition. We don't want just one part of the human condition. We want the whole condition. But I'm teaching most people here how to avoid, well, you shouldn't avoid it. You shouldn't avoid that part of you. The bad is also good, as Nietzsche says, Well, he doesn't say it like that, but that's how I'm saying it. So yeah, don't be a monk. Your life becomes, you abandon, your family, you abandon everything. You shouldn't, because they're part of your experience. Relations, like we said. Relations are super important to life. All right? It's one of the core essential areas in life. You can't just abandon that, because then this won't be as deep. I mean, of course, okay, it sounds like it's deep when you're like 80% here, but it's not. It's like saying I'm working out like half my day or more, like most of my days I'm just working out. Doesn't mean that the experience gets deeper just because you repeat it. you gotta align things. You gotta align a lot of stuff, and then you get deeper. That's how you get deeper, through layers in life. Not just one method, not just one thing in life. There is no just one thing in life. You do multiple things in life. You align multiple things in life. And that's what I'm doing in my philosophy. So you don't have to align anything, because I'm aligning everything for you. That's my philosophy. So just doing, trying to reach nirvana all the time or something, that's why it doesn't work. They don't go their path. So that's why Hermann Hesse is great as well. He's better than all Buddhism, Siddhartha, because he has his evolution. All right, he goes differently than Siddhartha Gautama, Buddha himself, but Buddha means enlightened. But he has his own path. You can't walk someone else's path. It is impossible. You have your brain, your gut, your core, and your steps. I can't walk your steps. I can only guide you. I can only show you a way. I can only show you the way here. I can show you this, but I can't do this. I can show you this. I show you the way, but I can't pull you here. I can pull you, but I can't, well, I can't, You gotta take the steps yourself. So that is super important as well. Well, so don't abandon your humanity. That's also why I said in previous lectures, ascetic humanism. That's why I called it ascetic humanism. We retain the human because we don't deny our humanism. We can't be light, all right? We can't be pure light. We can't be pure light, 80% light. We can't be that. We're human. Don't deny your humanity. Don't deny your humanity. That is the danger when it comes to spirituality, to starting to deny your humanity. Perhaps that is why people of reason don't want to touch this, but they should touch it because they always espouse, thinking and being critical, but they aren't critical themselves. They aren't aware enough themselves. They don't, they're cowards basically. You've got to be courageous to do this. We got to be super honest. We got to be super ultra honest. That's when everything will work. Everything will work if we're super ultra honest. And by the way, we're not done yet. I'm not even close to done. All right, there is more. Let's look at it from this perspective of spirituality. Now we'll get into my stuff. Well, we already did, but even, further. All right, spirituality. So we got spirituality in different ways. All right, we can call it like instincts here. Instincts, all right? Like Gaudi, there are no straight lines in nature. All right, so if you wonder what I'm talking about, it's the Catalonian architect. All right, so architect. So, but I also see him as a thinker. And all of those people I mentioned earlier, they are thinkers. All those intellectuals, philosophers are I see them as philosophers, thinkers. Anyway, spirituality, instincts, but we get there through first foundation. First foundation. What is? What is spirituality? All right. First foundation. All right. And you know, as I've said before, I will get to instinct. So you can see, you know, we can put instincts here and we can discuss instincts. That's how my philosophy goes deeper and deeper, and how we realize that reality has a lot of layers, you know. We can go, you know, instincts, we look at instincts from the perspective of instincts, spirituality, health. I will do a video with health here. You know, we can look at, you know, maps, different maps, or whatever we want to call them, you know, different layers of reality. I call them layers of reality. It's like a book, you know, a great book that, like Hermann Hesse's sentences, they have like 3 different meanings. One sentence can have like 3 or 4, or like Heraclitus' aphorisms, or Nietzsche's. You know, they can have multiple layers, and reality is like that as well. Reality is like a novel. Art and reality sometimes, you know, just goes within itself. Everything just goes within itself. And so in the first foundation, we understand diet, sleep. I always go with that, you know, order. Exercise, meditation. Now meditation can be, you know, deeper. So we can go within meditation and go even, you know, active, and then, you know, active meditation, which is basically active spirituality. Active meditation here. And then we got, you know, passive meditation, but which is also, you know, spirituality. But we can get to instincts and we get to spirituality through, you know, eating correctly, through diet, because, you know, it is like this, and then it is like this, and then exercise, also instincts, and then we go like this. All right? And then from instincts to spirituality. So you feel spiritual, you can feel spiritual when you train. You can feel spiritual when you eat. You can feel spiritual almost when you sleep. Actually, I realized earlier that, and this is connected with, you know, dreams. So we can call this passive. So in some sense, we can have like an area here that is active, and then we have the passive area. Passive spirituality, so to speak. Passive spirituality. Such a long word, spirituality. And then, you know, active spirituality. We got that here as well. You know, so we could remove this and just have, you know. But we can zoom in on passive spirituality and just speak of passive spirituality, which is dreams. I mean, dreams, which is, I'm gonna write down DMT here, because we have these brain chemicals in our brains, and also you even connect dreams with meditation, because when you start meditating, your dreams can become, especially in the beginning, your dreams can become very vivid, very, very vivid. It can also be, those dreams can also be affected because of your diet as well. So it depends on, if you start eating, you know, potatoes, rice and stuff like that, perhaps you'll become less spiritual or more spiritual if you haven't had it for a while. So it depends. So you can see that life has many layers. It depends on what you're doing, what you put in yourself, and what you put out, basically. The dreams are you're putting out. Spirituality, you're putting out an experience. In some sense, that is going outwards. And you put stuff in your body, which is inwards. But in a lot of ways, spirituality is inner, you know, inner life. inner life, inner experience. Inner experience, you know, you feel all this stuff within you, emotional thoughts, deep, intense experience. It is usually within you. That's why we speak of core. You go within yourself, your heart, as others have said, you know, all that stuff. So yeah, but so when you have your first foundation, you already become more spiritual. You're working towards this. So you're working towards life satisfaction, more quality of life. This is how it works. This is how it is. And you work on your instincts, which are obviously connected with your spirituality. Everything is connected with everything. All right, everything is connected with everything. Dreams, passive, but we have external stuff as well, drugs. And not any drugs. I'll write DMT here as well, because you know, the DMT, the molecule, actually gets released by the brain by itself. So the brain, you know, produces drugs, you know, it is biochemical stuff. We can't deny that. So that is true. And drugs can, you know, but this is external. And because it's external, drugs are external, we stop relying on ourselves. You don't produce your own spirituality. You don't produce your own instincts. You don't produce, more importantly, you don't produce it yourself, your own experience. So this I highly don't recommend at all. We should avoid this because we don't have any control, and when we don't have any control, and the principle behind all of this is owning yourself, which I spoke of in previous lecture. Own, well, let's take the old words, thyself. Own thyself. You gotta have control, and you gotta have resilience. Otherwise, how are we supposed to work during our days? All right. You've got to have control. How are we going to control ourselves? How are we going to parent ourselves? Whatever you want to call it, it's the same thing. You've heard those words before, perhaps. I call it the watcher as well. You're your own watcher, and you're your own inner child. We can call inner child the instinct because inner child, well, the L there as well. The inner child instinct, your core, you are naive, like our ancestors. They were naive in a lot of ways because, you know, like animals, they're naive. You know, you follow only your instincts. You're not a philosopher. You just do your stuff. You just do your destiny. You don't question your health. You see, you don't question your health. I went back to that. You don't question your existence. That's why the nihilists are wrong again. So, you see, everything is connected. That's why my philosophy started going outwards, from the core outwards, instead of killing the core. Don't kill your core. Instead, improve your core, work on your core, and so forth. And so, like I said, this drugs and stuff, you know, but not any drug, you know, it's, you know, ayahuasca and, you know, stuff like that. That actually, you know, it has tradition and so forth, and utilization, but it is external. It's not resilience. You don't have control. You don't own yourself. More importantly, you don't produce it yourself. Produce, or, you know, creator. Because we are creators. We're kings. Kings. You create your own empire. Like I said in Own Yourself lecture, in the Own Yourself lecture, Own Thyself. You see, when you have this, my stuff is own yourself. This is owning yourself. This is owning yourself. This is outside my philosophy. All right? But I still had to mention it because someone is going to mention it. There is nothing I haven't thought of. All right? I haven't thought of. I even have some stuff that you've never heard of that I will tell you. There are experiences that might be new. Actually, I had a thought earlier. It just occurred, well, it occurred to me then, but perhaps even in the past. Past experience cannot be experienced today. Now, obviously, it sounds obvious, but spiritual experience in the past, actually any experience in the past, cannot be experienced today. That's why the past is dead, long live the future, actually long live now. But that was a saying of mine to catalyze myself towards becoming better, greater, and so forth. So past experience and past spiritual experience cannot be re-experienced. So for example, in the Middle Ages, perhaps some people were deeply spiritual, and we can't feel the same spirituality. We don't have all the layers they have. We have current day layers, the stuff I talk about. And it doesn't have to be just your first foundation, it's also your work. So it's also your work. You can get spiritual with your work. Let's say writing, you can write a book and be deeply, deeply spiritual like I was. When I wrote my book, I realized a lot of stuff at the end of my book, well, during the book, and it is fictional and yet autobiographical. It is both. I never separate anything. The same way I don't separate myself from this. I only speak of experience here. All right, so, except that I haven't tried, ayahuasca, but there are other ways, all right? So you can be spiritual through work. Now, there is also, from meditation, you can also combine stuff. Well, like I said, foundation, there is fasting in here as well. Well, fasting is super powerful when it comes to spirituality. So it could actually be its own here. Fasting is super strong. You go deep into your core. I mean, fasting is the most core you can come. It is the foundation, and you remove diet and you remove everything else as well, because when you're dry fasting, if you're not drinking anything either, you're deeply we don't need this. You're deeply within your core. You're only experiencing your core, basically. I mean, of course you can walk and talk and socialize, but if you want to do a dopamine fast, you can skip talking and socialization as well, if you want to do a really extreme hard dopamine fast, as I call it. Now, so we have modern terminology as well. Like, we're not in the medieval times either, and we know more stuff today. So there is an evolution. We know more stuff. There is a lot of old stuff, but we know more stuff. We're putting it in modern day as well, so that we understand it. And I want to show you that spirituality has a lot of stuff, all right? Spirituality is not one thing. The same way health is not just one thing. Health is first foundation. It's not just one thing. Nothing is just one thing, basically, except principles are one word, but it's not just one thing, because a principle like own yourself is within, behind all of this. But it is very subtle. Own yourself is very subtle, perhaps the most subtle principle of all of them. It just, it creeps up in some places, or everywhere, but it is super subtle in some places, and it's quite obvious in other places. Like work, when it comes to work, it becomes obvious. So it depends on which principle it is, it becomes obvious. Now fasting is super powerful. Plus if you meditate, plus meditation, you combine all of these, And then, you get deeply spiritual. You dry fast, you go deeply within yourself, but not in the despaired way. We do this, you're still very aware of my philosophy, core outwards. And you've dropped, your tortured artist stuff and all that nonsense. That is just beliefs that are not true. You're just, you keep on delaying working on yourself. That is all you're doing, nothing else. So you just gotta drop that. I'm talking to all the artists out there. I mean, your tortured artist belief is nothing special. It is nothing new, all right? And I'm not claiming that I'm trying to do anything new here either, but, well, actually I am. I told you earlier, it is a new philosophy. And it is, because I'm putting it into principles. Not a rigid system. It is somewhat organized. There are some, paths. There are paths. But they all go within themselves. You can look, like I said, again, you can zoom in on fasting. You can zoom in on diet and get fasting and pull fasting out of that, out of instinct as well, and put it here, and we discuss, this stuff. So many layers of life. So fasting, you remove all stuff, everything that has to do with dopamine. Your own brain has to, become super focused. Let's say you do 3 days, no water, no food, plus you meditate, and you do some visualization meditation. My goodness, you will be super spiritual. You will feel very spiritual. I've done that. I saw images, like on my last dry fast, I did some meditation, a visualization meditation, not Dzogchen, not Vipassana. Only some imagery, visualizing stuff. And I saw, visuals, they almost, got stuck, and, so it is deeply spiritual. You can do this. I don't care if you're an atheist, nihilist, whatever you are. Try dry fasting for 3 days and then do some, visualization meditation, and you'll become spiritual. I don't care how much you deny everything. It is not about, criticizing beliefs here. It is about realizing that life has deeper experiences. They're important to us. The imagery I saw, it's not like I believe that imagery is God or something, or is Buddha, or is, well, Buddha makes no sense, but, or it is, something, or my dreams are this or that. It's not about that. It is about the experience giving you more, a richer life. It is about the experience giving you a richer life. For example, like I had this deep dream the other day, and I actually did the other day. So you fast, you meditate. That's how you get to spirituality in a very deep sense. That's how Jainists do it a lot of times, and Buddhists, I believe, and perhaps even monks and nuns in Christianity, because when they fast, they, to get closer to God, so to speak. Well, that is it. And it doesn't matter which religion. I'm showing you that the method here is that, all right? Spirituality, Numen. You fast, meditate, you get to Numen. All right. Oh yeah, so yeah, like I said, you're intense, you're super focused, laser focused. You have deep purpose to put your work out there, and you become spiritual by that manner as well. You train outside, you feel spiritual, you feel the weather, but you also always have awareness. You put your awareness, especially with instincts and stuff like that as well. And that is, aware. You still put your awareness, and you use, active spiritual. Well, where is it? I didn't put an active spirituality here. Active spirituality. Active spirituality. Now we can call, now this is passive as well. Now I didn't organize it. I'll organize it better next time. But because dreams are, well, I'll just put it like this, passive. Diet is active, exercise is active, meditation I usually call meditation active, but that is within exercise. When you combine exercise, that is one form of active meditation, I call it. But behind this works, active spirituality. Behind active meditation, there is active spirituality. You exercise plus awareness, listening to your inner voice. That's why you should avoid listening to music while you train. You should listen to your inner voice. You exercise, you imagine yourself, you visualize yourself, you visualize your higher desire, like I always speak of, that principle. And when you exercise, so you got to understand where to use all this stuff. And that's what I'm teaching here. So you don't have to, invent this stuff. I've already did. So active meditation, and then you have passive meditation, which is, you sit down, you do breathing meditations and stuff like that. That is passive meditation. You have passive meditation, Vipassana Dzogchen, and so forth, all right? And in some sense, yoga is active meditation or relaxation method, plus some awareness. Because in exercise you feel how you do the push-ups, for example, or pull-ups and squats and so forth. That's why I speak of calisthenics, because you see everything is connected. Because you get closer to your instincts with calisthenics. Well, yoga is also pretty good because you still you do these exercises physical, and you put your awareness on the exercise itself, and you listen to how to improve yourself, and that is also some part of spirituality. You get to your instincts like this. It is not as deep. It is not a deep, intense experience all the time. Sometimes it can be more deeper, So sometimes it's not perfect, It's usually like this, but sometimes it gets like this. But it never gets like this, like in the heights of the heights. Your work can get here more, your work like this can get here better than exercise and stuff like that. But it can get sometimes very close. But if you combine your thoughts in your work, so inspiration, like we have more stuff. I'm not even done. You see, I'm not even close here. There is so much stuff. There is so much stuff. I mean, this is, spirituality goes, that's why, I'm very satisfied with my life, because I've already experienced all of this stuff, and there is so much more. There are experiences that I haven't experienced that other people perhaps have experienced, and sometimes perhaps you can't even experience. Well, I mean, I can, because if I have the will, I will get there. But all right, so you have the experience of having a child as well, family, your social life as well. I mean, social in general, it is, well, this is connected, this spirituality to the social as well. You feel a deep connection with your family, your friends, closest friends, your, all that. And you work on that as well, and it just gets better and better. And you help them in life. And you can help them with all of this. But you also have, experiences I haven't perhaps even, like, for example, I don't want to remove drugs because we still have to remember the external. We don't deny what exists in reality. We're aware of everything that exists in reality so that we have knowledge. Knowledge is power. We gotta, all that is super important. We don't deny ourselves knowledge, information. Never. Never, never, never. I don't care if you come up with examples, never. In your life, never. All right? You can come up with examples if you want to be clever, but it's not about being clever, it's about improving health. It's not about being clever at all. It doesn't impress me. None of that can impress me because I've been there and done all of that. So perhaps, let's say someone like Bill Gates. I like Bill Gates. Gates, he's a billionaire. Well, we shouldn't put Gates here. He's part of my philosophy. A billionaire, there are only a few billionaires in the world. And imagine if they have First Foundation, imagine they have developed all of this stuff and deep spiritual experience and fasting, and I doubt he's fasted ever. And then he's a billionaire as well. You have the experience of being a billionaire plus all of this deep experience as well. Then you create something new yet again, You create something new here that almost none of us, billionaire spirituality. Billionaire spirituality. A form of greatness or success, and also, inner success and outer success. Outer success with billionaire, with wealth, and then inner success with spirituality. We can see health is inner, but then we have wealth, which is, work and business, which is outer, which when you help people and others, outer, external. And then you have spirituality again, which is inner, and then relationships, which is something in between. So yeah, I just realized that. So you see my philosophy always, works, goes on and on, I'm gonna put it here because I like that. I like that more than keeping all this. So health is inner. Well, technically health is also inner and outer. We can call it outer experience and inner experience. And then wealth, of course, everything is inner and outer because you have inner conflict. But it is emphasized with inner when it comes to health. And it is because core. With wealth, it is emphasized with outer experience because you help others. Core, self, yourself. But with others here, which is not self. But it's also inner because, you have inner conflict, which is good. This is struggle. But we will love our struggle because we love each and every process. That is joy in the process. You see, everything is connected. You love your inner conflict because it is struggle. You love your work. This is business, This is work as well. We can call it wealth, we can call it work. But it is wealth when it comes, you gotta have some money as well. You can't just be poor. And to get back to, Siddhartha, he was poor and then rich and then, normal, so to speak, and, back and forth. So you have the full human experience. That is basically what we're after. But we don't drop, it's not like in a novel where you drop the wealth or stuff like that. He got fat, for example. Well, you can be wealthy and healthy. You can be wealthy and healthy. You can be, you know, both. Why not be both? Why do we have to be one thing? Why? Why not be all of it? Why not be all full human experience? That is unique. That is super unique. Most people aren't like this. And most people haven't worked on themselves. So, all right, so yeah, outer. So wealth was outer, emphasizing outer. Health is emphasizing inner. Relations is like a combination of emphasizing both inner, outer, inner and outer, and then spirituality is inner, emphasizing inner, but also outer, because, you know, when you meditate, for example, but it is usually deep within yourself and so forth, but inner wisdom and so forth. But when you, for example, you meditate, even when you do vipassana, you listen to sounds, and then they're external and they move inwards to your inner experience. But it is, you know, outer to the inner. So it is different in all of these things. Like, for example, health, it is outer, in some sense, also outer and then inner. So spirituality and health are deeply, well, all of these are deeply connected, but they're similar in nature. Wealth and work is the other way. And usually, actually, relations as well, it is a bit more, you know, outer, because you have a relation to someone else but in some sense it is inner to the outer, but then it is also, you look at someone and you focus on them, you know, so outer and to the inner. So it is both, of course, with the relations. So yeah, that's how it is. Yes, inner to outer, because you go from your core and then you move outwards. Actually, that is, you know, most of my, that is all my philosophy, basically. If you look at it like that, depends on how we look at it, you know? It depends on how we look at it. If we look at the core, you go from the inner and then you go outwards, which is obviously in everything. But with spirituality is often inner, well, outer, external, and then inner, but we also cut stuff out, so it is a lot of inner life. So you know, it's very, you know, that's when dynamics become, you know, a little bit more complex, but you don't have to worry about that stuff. You leave that to me. You don't have to worry about this stuff. You just worry about developing yourself. You just worry about your core. You just worry about improving all of that. All right? So yeah. So he has some experience, or, you know, the billionaires, he, she, whatever, they have experiences that most people don't have. And so you see, there are some experiences in life that are unique, that most people won't ever feel. And obviously you can talk about, you know, extreme sports as well and so forth. And so yeah, there is some spirituality there as well. But you can do that. That is very easy to just have the courage to do, you know. You can bungee jump or whatever. Everyone can do that. Even, let's say, a billionaire can do that. And so he has that experience as well. But he has billions, and he has, when I say billions here, the connection there is, you know, the responsibility of helping societies and, you know, the other way of seeing the world. He has a perspective that is different to most people because there are so few billionaires. So that's naturally that way, you know. So we can't deny that. We don't deny anything, all right? Don't deny anything. All right, so spirituality, your family, friends, exercise, meditation, sleep. Sleep basically, you know, sleep emphasizes and gets you closer to your instincts. So it's more of an indirect direct spiritual thing, and it's more connected, you know, to dreams. It's more connected to dreams with sleep there, and it is passive. Sleep is passive, diet is active, exercise is active, meditation is usually passive, but it can be active when combined with exercise. So it's like exercise and awareness becomes like, you know, active spirituality, or, you know, active meditation. All right, I hope that clears things up. I know there is a lot of stuff here, but reality has deep layers. So what else? There might be some experiences we don't know, like not even, you know, billionaires experience. Like I said, the past is forever gone, so we can't experience that stuff. Most of us can't, you know, none of us can experience that. That is impossible. We don't reach for impossibility here. We reach for stuff that works. We care about improving the human life, so we have to be ultra honest with ourselves. Because we need to be honest to improve health. We have to be honest, otherwise we can't improve health, because otherwise how are you supposed to understand which steps, how to fast, how to eat properly, how to sleep properly, how to exercise properly, how to meditate properly, how to be deeply more spiritual in life in many different ways? How are you supposed to do that if you're not honest with yourself? You have to be that. That is ultra important. And you have to be honest with yourself when realizing from your core outwards, going from your core outwards, and not keep on, you know, keep on denying yourself and your health. Actually, you are, you know, denying yourself. You're denying your own existence. Stop being a nihilist and start working on your craft or whatever it is that you love. All right? Stop wasting time on nonsense. It's just nonsense. All right. You have dreams, you have your instincts. So yeah, I can speak a little bit more about, you know, instincts here. When you eat, you know, more like your ancestors, you can almost feel like going into the past. This is the only way, by the way, to go into the past. I said you can't, but this is the only way, and it is not a, you know, real way, obviously, but it is the closest we can get, you know. So when you eat ancestrally, your diet, you fast. Our ancestors fasted naturally. We have to simulate this stuff because, you know, we're in a simulation now. But we live in, you know, modern world, so we have to, you know, do all these methods to do it. So yeah. So when you have aligned all of this stuff, your instincts develop and you get more spiritual. So you could do first foundation, you can do a lot of that and, you know, improve your spiritual life. And only first foundation itself will, you know, get you very close to life satisfaction and so forth. Now, obviously, you can't just have your first foundation. You have to work on your second foundation, third and fourth as well. Oh yeah, speaking of that, now I got it. Fourth foundation. So reading, like, all right, so ideas, but also inspiration. Inspiration, or information absorption, as I call it. Information information absorption active spirituality. we'll make 2 here. Obviously, everything is back and forth, you know. All of these are back and forth. All of these are back and forth. There is no such thing as non-relation. Everything is related to everything else. And ideas and concepts and, you know. So this is, you know, obviously with work as well, wealth or work. So it's like, this is your second is, you know, second foundation is improving the first foundation, habits and stuff. So it becomes like a meta spiritual thing that is working deeply behind, you know, everything. Because second foundation is important to improve, you know, first foundation. So you see this, the instincts are connected to the first foundation, and then, you know, the instincts are naturally connected to the second foundation as well, but they go like this way. And they go like this, and then you get to wealth and work, which is, you know, that is it, but you also work on your third foundation, because without a third foundation of fueling your thoughts and ideas and mind, how are you supposed to work, you know, get creative work? Creative work. That is ideas here, which is this, you know, third foundation. This is the third foundation. This is fourth. This is fourth foundation. Now, obviously, all of these are connected. So technically, you know, second foundation, and then fourth foundation is connected to third foundation, like this. I know it looks crazy here, but I know what I'm doing. Trust me, I know exactly what I'm doing. I can do this in my sleep, like I've said 1 billion times. This is how reality is, but I can organize it better another. I will do a lecture where I go through like first, second, and third, and fourth foundation, so you will see that it is connected. But we're doing spirituality today, so that's why everything goes here. So, but you know, like I always say, everything is connected. So, fourth foundation, inspiration and information absorption. You read stuff that is good. You can get spiritual by reading, you know, you read Nietzsche and you read Thus Spoke Zarathustra, and you can't you know, not get, you know, caught in the story or in the, well, it's more about spiritual experience, inner wisdom in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, but in a story, for example, like Siddhartha or something like that. And then afterwards, in art, it usually works that the spiritual or the inner stuff, we can call it the inner fire as well, you know, the drive. You refill yourself, your core. That is spiritual, but it takes time. It takes longer time. So art is unique in that way, you know. You read something that is very good, but it is deep within you for a very long time, even way after you've read the book, you know. And the same with great movies. Some films can, you know, be deep and long and be within you for a very long time. And that is spiritual as well. So that is when I speak of igniting the inner fire, which is what I want to do with my philosophy as well. So it can have, you know, a feeling of heaviness or something, but don't mistake that, because that heaviness is just, you know, you're digesting stuff. You're digesting it in your soul or in your spirit, so to speak. All right? So don't worry about it. That is just the artistic side of things. So yeah, inspiration. So you can read stuff, you get inspired, and inspiration, and you can get inspired by nature. That's where we get nature and awe, you know. Usually rationalists, they speak of awe, you know, and the feeling of, you know, connectedness with cosmos, and which I agree with. I felt that a lot of times with the moon, I have a lot of those experiences. With the stars, I look at the stars very often and do that. So use inspiration for, you know, spirituality, you know, nature, you know, watching birds and feeling almost connected to them when you see they struggle, but getting the food, like the other day, getting some food, and like I observed some crows or something, and crows, and they were like, you know, pulling and trying to get the stuff and the food that humans put there. some people, some neighbors or something. And so, yeah, that's it. So you got your ideas as well in work. You get inspired when you work. You get these creative ideas that, you know, epiphanies. All these epiphanies are also spirituality in some sense. Now, that is not, you know, that can be deep, and it can be heights, like I showed earlier. That can be, you know, your work can be, you know, heights, but usually those epiphanies, you know, ideas, they're usually not though. It's usually more like this, you know, not like a spike. It can be a spike if you're writing like a novel and it's deeply, you know, personal and, you know, stuff like that. It can be like a spike. So yeah. All right. Right. Relations also have a deeper way. I mean, you know, relations, it's better to put it here like relations. Because like a it is part of it, so partner. I mean, you know, love. If love isn't, you know, love and partner and the sexual relation, that is also deeply spiritual, you know. So you gotta have all these parts in your life. You can't deny love and partnership, and, you know, your closest partner, which can be your closest friend as well, and so forth. So use all these things. Use all these things to get to spirituality, more satisfying life. I think I mentioned basically everything. Most likely there is something I forgot, and I will think of it later. But like I said, you know, we can focus on active and passive, and, you know, which is passive, which is active. You don't have to worry about which is passive or active. You leave that to me, and you just find and develop, and not find, you create yourself. You develop all of these sides of yourself. I don't care who you are, you do this, and everything will be, you know, great and will be fine, like I always say. And so tomorrow, we'll see what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Whatever I feel is, I will follow my instinct, and we will see what that means tomorrow. Now, you can check my Facebook, you can check my Quora, you can check everything. You can ask me about spirituality and stuff like that, or, you know, like active, passive, or whatever is unclear to you. I'll make a new video and clear it up, or, you know, I will write it to you in the comments. And if you have problems, you know, you can join the Facebook group. I will help you there, but I will, you know, I won't always be there, so I can't always be there, but so That is how you are satisfied, deeply satisfied in life, in a deeper manner. There is so much to do in life. When people say life is boring, I have no idea what they're looking at or talking about. I mean, look at all this stuff. There is so much you can do, in life. So how is life boring? Life has so many layers. It is almost impossible to experience it all, but you can try, and you don't have to be overwhelmed by this. You work on your first foundation, and then second, and so forth. You slowly build from your core outwards. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. If you are highly ambitious, if you are a highly ambitious person, you can send me an email, we can discuss stuff, and we will see if we can set something up for a consultation. If you like the way I think, if you have problems with deeper life satisfaction, I can help you, but it's all up to you. You have to take the steps. I can take them for you because we're different animals. We're different people. We're different animals. Like I always say, keep on working on yourself, keep on focusing on yourself. Everything will be great, everything will be fine, and I will see you tomorrow.